Hello, from wherever you're joining me, thank you for your time. And today we're going to be continuing Talmud Bavli, Sanhedrin Daf 44. Let's just dive straight in. It's halfway through the sentence, so we'll just start from the end of the last daf. The Gemara asks, if so, what is the reason in the case of Achin that they were punished? The Gemara answers, Achin's offence was not a hidden matter, because wife and children knew about it. This follows the rule that a matter known to three people is considered to be public knowledge, and they did not protest. When God explained to Joshua the reason for the Jewish people's defeat in the city of Ai, he said, Israel has sinned, Joshua 7:11. Rabbi Abba Zavda says, from here may be inferred that even when the Jewish people have sinned, they are still called Israel. Rabbi Abba says this is in accordance with the adage that people say, even when a myrtle is found among the thorns, its name is myrtle. So even if a myrtle is found among thorns, its name is myrtle, and people call it myrtle. The verse in Joshua continues, they've also transgressed my covenant which I commanded them, and they've also taken of the dedicated property, and also stolen, and also dissembled it, and also put it among their own gods. Rabbi Ilya says in the name of Rabbi Yehuda bar Maspata, it teaches that Achan also read all the 5 books of the Torah, as the word also is stated here 5 times. What does that mean? Avad Achin Achamishe Chumshe Torah. The Ramah explains that Achin transgressed prohibitions recorded in each of the 5 books of the Torah, the mitzvah of circumcision, in Genesis 17:11, the mitzvah against theft, according in Exodus 20:13, the prohibition against taking consecrated property, recorded in Leviticus 27:28, prohibition against denying the possession of stolen property, in Numbers 5:6, and the prohibition against placing another's property in one's vessels, according to Deuteronomy 23:25. The Kliyaka similarly explains that Achan transgressed the prohibition against theft mentioned explicitly or alluded to in the recounting of an incident in each of the 5 books of the Torah. Rabbi Ilya says further in the name of Rabbi Yehuda bar Masparta, Achin, in addition to his other evil actions, was stretched his remaining foreskin in order to conceal the fact that he was circumcised. An allusion to this offence is found in the wording of this verse. Here, with regard to Achin, is written, they have also transgressed my covenant, and there, with regard to circumcision, is written, he has violated my covenant, in Genesis 7:14. The Gemara asks, but it isn't obvious that he concealed circumcision, and Rabbi Ilya said that he transgressed all 5 books of the Torah. And the Gemara answers, lest you say that while Achan transgressed all 5 books of the Torah with regard to the mitzvah related to his own body circumcision, he did not act irreverently. Rabbi Ilya teaches that he sinned concerning his mitzvah as well. With regard to Achan, the verse says, and because he has commanded a wanton deed in Israel, Joshua 7:15, but Abba Bazamta says, it's easy that Achan engaged in such an intercourse with the betrothed young woman. This offence is also alluded to by the wording of the verse. Here with regard to Achan, it is written as because he committed a wanton deed, and there with regard to a betrothed young woman who committed adultery, it is written because she has committed a wanton deed in Israel to play a harlot in her father's house. Deuteronomy 22:21. The Gemara asks, isn't this obvious? No, that's the entire Torah. The Gemara similarly answers, lest you say that he did not act irreverently to such an extent. Rabbi Abba bar Zavda teaches us that he paid no heed even to this prohibition. Ravina said this verbiage does not teach what Achan's offence was. Rather, it teaches that his punishment was like that of a betrothed young woman. Achan should have been punished with death by burning, as God had said to Joshua, and it shall be, and he that is seized with the dedicated thing shall be burnt with fire. Joshua 7:15. He was executed by stoning because, as stated in Midrash Tehumah, Jericho was conquered on Shabbat, and so he also desecrated Shabbat when he misused the dedicated property, thereby committing an offence punishable by stoning. In any event, Achan's execution was an extra legal punishment carried out in accordance with divine sanction, the Meiri, and committed adultery for which she is executed by stoning. The Gemara said to Rav Huna, it's written, Joshua took Achan son of Zerah, and the silver, and the mantle, and the wedge of gold, and his sons, and his daughters, and his oxen, and his asses, and his sheep, and his tent, and all that he had, and all Israel with him, and all Israel stoned him with stones, and they burned him with fire, and they stoned him with stones. Joshua 7, 24 to 25. If Achan sinned, so that he was liable to be stoned, did his sons and daughters also sin, so that they should be stoned? Rav Huna said to himself, and according to your reason, the Achan family was punished. If Achan sinned, then all of Israel sin, as it is written, and all of Israel with him. Rather, Joshua took all of the people to the valley of Achor, not to stone them, but to chastise them and to strike fear into their hearts by making them witness the stoning. So he took Achan's household there in order to chastise them. With regard to Achan's punishment, this verse states, and they burned them with fire and stoned them with stones. The Gemara asked, did they punish him with two punishments? The Rina said that was fit for burning, and an item of clothing was taken out for burning, and fit for stoning, e.g. an animal was taken out for stoning. In his confession, Achan states, and I saw among the spoil a silver mantle of Shinar, and 200 shekels of silver, Joshua 7:21. Rabbi says a mantle of Shinar is a cloak, it's teller. It's teller, let's look. It's teller is a cloak from the Greek stole, meaning garment or coat. A choice wool, the milta. Some understand that this is fine, thin wool, named after the ancient Greek letters where it was manufactured, verbatim Baruch. Others suggest that the name is derived from the term melote, meaning sheep's wool, and Shmuel says it is a garment Shabbalah dyed with alum. Shabbalah is a garment. Related to the Arabic sibal, meaning overcoat or jacket, the term already appeared in the book of Daniel 3:1. Garment with alum. Sarifa. Some understand that the term sarifa is used here derived from the Hebrew saruf, meaning clean or pure, and it refers to a clean laundered garment. Some suggest that the words relate to the Hebrew Aramaic word for alum serif, a material that was used both for laundering and soaking a garment to prepare it for dyeing. Alum is formed by adding water to potassium aluminum sulfide, which can be found in abundance as an aluminite mineral crystallized in volcanic rock in many places in the world. Alum is used in the production of leather, paint and paper, and has some medicinal value as well. With regard to the spoils that Achan took for himself, the verse states, and they laid them out before the Lord, Joshua 7:23. But now it says, Joshua came and cast down the spoils before God. And it said, the Master of the universe, was it because of these small items that the majority of the Sanhedrin were killed? As is written, the men of Ai smote them, about 36 men, Joshua 7:5, and it is taught in about 36 men literally were killed. This is a statement by Rabbi Huda. Rabbi Nehemiah said to Rav Naaman, but were they precisely 36 men? Didn't it state only about 36 men? Rather, it's reference to Yair, son of Manasseh, who was killed, and who was himself equivalent in importance of the majority of the Sanhedrin, 36 men. Yair ben Manasseh. This Yair was actually the son of Seguv, and the great grandson of Manasseh, son of Joseph. In 1 Chronicles 2:21-22, he was called son of Manasseh because he descends from the tribe's founder. Two Torah texts describe him as a great warrior in Numbers 32:4-23:14. This explains why he is described here as equal in importance to 36 men. Naaman says, and Rav says, what is the meaning of that which is written? The poor man speaks entreaties, but the rich man answers with impudence. Proverbs 18:23. The poor man speaks entreaties. This is in reference to Moses, who addressed God in a paternal supplication and appeasement, but a rich man acts with impudence. This is in reference to Joshua, who spoke to God in a belligerent manner. The Ramah explains that Moses saw himself as poor because the many miracles had been performed for him in Egypt and in the wilderness, and therefore he was considered that the mercy of the people had become diminished over the course of his life. Joshua, by contrast, saw himself as rich, and God had only just begun to perform miracles for him. The Gemara asked, what does it mean that Joshua is considered to have answered God with impudence? Avery says it's because it's written that he laid them before the Lord. Of Naaman says that this means that Joshua came and cast the spoils down before God as part of his argument. It's difficult. Is that to say that Pinchas did not act in the same way in the incident involving Zimri and Cosby? As it's written, then stood up Pinchas to execute judgment, Phalel, and the plague was stayed. Psalms 106:30. Rabbi Elazar says, and he prayed. Phalel is not stated, rather, and he executed. Phalel is stated, which teaches that he entered into judgment together with his Creator. How so? He came and cast Zimri and Cosby down before God, and he said to him, Master of the universe, was it because of the sinners that 24,000 members of the Jewish people fell? As it is written, and those that died by the plague were 24,000, Numbers 25:9. Rather, Joshua's belligerence is seen from this verse. Why have you brought this people out over the Jordan? Joshua 7:7. As if he were complaining about God's people of Israel. There's two ways to quote Moses in a similar statement. Why have you dealt ill with his people? Why is it that you have sent me? In Exodus 5:22. Rather, Joshua's belligerence is seen from here. From the continuation of the previously cited verse in Joshua. Would that we have been content when made in the Transjordan, Joshua 7:7. With regard to the verse that states, and the Lord said to Joshua, get you up, why you lie this way on your face. In Joshua 7:10, Rabbi Shila taught in a public lecture, the Holy One blessed be said to Joshua, your own sin is even worse than that of the other Jews who sinned. As I said to the Jewish people, and it shall be when you have gone over the Jordan that you shall settle these stones, Deuteronomy 27:4, and you have already distanced yourself 60 mil. The discussion concerning the timing of Joshua's setting of the stones seems to depend on the Tannaitic dispute as to whether there was only one mountain called Abel and Gerizim, which was located in the heart of Samaria, or whether there was also another set of mountains called Abel and Gerizim close to Jordan. Some of them even say that Joshua was to erect two artificial mounds of earth near the Jordan River and call them by these names. Consequently, Rav Shila was of the opinion that Joshua should have fulfilled the mitzvah and set up the stones immediately after he crossed the Jordan, says Tosfot. The distance from the Jordan River to Mount Gerizim, even by way of a winding road, seems to be much less than 60 mil. 60 mil might be the distance that the Jewish people travel from Jericho to Shechem by way of Ai. And you have yet to fulfill the mitzvah. After Rashida finished his lecture and went out, Rav, who had been present but remained silent, placed an interpreter alongside him who would repeat his lecture in a loud voice so the public could hear it, and he taught. The verse says, as the Lord commanded Moses his servant, so did Moses command Joshua, and so did Joshua, and he left nothing undone of all the Lord had commanded Moses. Joshua 11:15. This indicates that Joshua could not have been guilty of a grave offence, such as the laying in the second of stones. If so, what's the meaning when the verse states, get you up? Hinting that Joshua was in fact responsible for some transgression. The matter should be understood as follows. God said to Joshua, you caused the Jewish people to sin, as you had not dedicated all the spoils of Jericho to the tabernacle treasury, and the entire incident of Achem taking the spoils and probably would not have occurred. This is what God said to him at Ai. And you shall do at Ai and her king as you did to Jericho and her king. Only its spoil and its cattle shall you take for a prey to yourselves. Joshua 8:2. Instructing Joshua and the Jewish people. Instructing Joshua that the Jewish people should keep the spoils. The verse states, and it came to pass when Joshua was by Jericho that he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, a man stood over him with a sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went to him and said to him, are you for us or are you for our adversaries? And he said, no, I am captain of the host of the Lord. I have now come. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and bowed down. Joshua 5:13-14. The Gemara asked, how does Joshua do so, bowing to a stranger at night? But doesn't Rabbi Yochanan say it is prohibited for a person to greet another whom he does not recognize at night? Rashi explains that it must have been night, as the stranger had come during the day. As Ad had the stranger come during the day, Joshua would have been able to see for himself whether the stranger was for us or for our adversaries. There are more reasons that there was that night appearing later in the verses indicate that the angel revealed himself to Joshua at night. And as we are concerned that perhaps the one does not recognize, is not recognized as a demon. Shema Shadhu, the Meiri understands that this means that one may not greet a stranger at night because he might be an idol worshipper or a demon worshipper who should not be greeted with God's name as he denies God. Others suggest it means that it is prohibited to greet a stranger at night and bow down to him because it might look that he is bowing down to a demon, the Ramon Gaonim. Why was Joshua not concerned about this possibility? The Gemara answers, it is different there. As the stranger said to Joshua, I am captain of the host of the Lord. I have now come. The Gemara asks, but perhaps he was in fact a demon and he was lying. The Gemara answers, it is learned as a tradition that demons do not utter the name of heaven in vain. If figures mention the name of heaven, he must be speaking the truth. According to the sages, demons have certain human traits and certain traits of angels. Even when they cause harm, they do so in fulfillment of God's will. Accordingly, he would not go against his will. And utter his name in vain. The Gemara understands the words of the angel that Joshua encountered as rebuke for some offense Joshua committed. The angel said to Joshua, yesterday in the afternoon you neglected sacrificing daily offering because you engaged in warfare, and now in this dark you neglect the Torah study. Joshua asked him, for which of these sins have you come to reprove me? The angel said to him, I have now come. The fact that I did not come before, but wait until now, when it is dark, indicates that the sin of neglecting Torah study is the more severe one. Joshua immediately acted to rectify the matter by deciding that he must devote more time to Torah study as his data, and Joshua lodged that night in Joshua 8:9. But Yan and Yeshua, there are two similar words to Joshua lodged, in that night among the people, Hayam, Joshua 8:9, and Joshua went by that night in the midst of the valley, Hamet, Joshua 8:13. Outside the here, Rabbi Yochanan's position seems to be based on a combination of two verses which together teach that Joshua went and delved into the depth of the Torah. That was on Eruvin 63b and the Talmud Rebbeinu Peretz. In the midst of the valley, Hamek, Joshua 8:13, and Rabbi Yochanan says it is that he lodged all night in the depth, B'yomaka of halacha, thereby turning for his previous neglect of Torah study. Shmuel Bar Unya says in the name of Rab, Torah study is greater than sacrificing of daily offerings. No, it says I have now come demonstrate that neglect of Torah study is more serious offence than neglect of the daily offering. Rabbi said of Abdimi, who descended to Babylonian from Eretz Yisrael, how do you explain this verse in the West, Eretz Yisrael? Do not proceed hastily to litigation, lest you know not what to do in the end of it, when your neighbour has put you to shame. Debate your cause with your neighbour and do not reveal the secret of another. Proverbs 25:8-9. Rabbi Dimi explains as follows. At the time the Holy Best said to Israel, go say to Israel, your father who is an Amite and your mother a Hittite. In Ezekiel 16:13, the spirit of Paskonit is the name of the angel who defends the Jewish people, and Rashi identifies the spirit as the angel Gabriel. The Vilna Gaon and the author of Ma'aleh Amukot disagree with this explanation. Their claim is apparently based on the fact that certain Kabbalistic texts or poems identify the angel as Metatron, Margaret Hayom, which is another name for the angel Gabriel said before the Holy Must be Master of the universe. Were the patriarch Abraham and the patriarch Sarah to come and stand before you, would you speak to them in such a manner and put them to shame? Is it not stated to debate your cause with your neighbour and not reveal the secret of another? The Gemara asks, but does the angel Gabriel have so much authority that he can reprove God in such a manner? The Gemara answered, yes, as Rabbi Yossi son of Rabbi Nina says, he, the angel Gabriel, has three names, Piskon, Itmon, and Sigron. He is called Piskon because he splits, says Posic word and argues with God on high. Or Itmon because he concealed Shuatem, the sins of the Jewish people. And he is called Sigron because once he closes Shesoga, his arguments about the Jewish people, no one reopens the discussion. The verse states, had you prepared your prayers before your troubles came? Job 36:19. Rabbi Elazar says, a person should always offer a prayer before trouble actually arrives, as had the patriarch Abraham not anticipated the trouble at Ai with the prayer he offered between Bethel and Ai, there would have been no remnant or refugee remaining among the enemies of Israel as a euphemism for Israel itself. As Jesus suffered defeat at Ai, from which there is ordinarily no recovery. Like I said, the verse should be understood as follows. Anyone who concentrates himself on his energy and prayer in the world below will have no enemies in heaven or above causing him trouble. Rabbi Yochanan says, The verse should be understood in a slightly different manner. A person should always pray for mercy that all heavenly beings should strengthen his power of prayer, and that he should have no enemies causing him trouble in heaven above. I'm just going into this one a bit more. So what does it mean? Should strengthen his power. Shehu hakol ma'amsin es kocho. Some explain one should ask for many friends and loved ones who will be ready to help him at all times. Says the Meiri. Some of the Rahash cite this passage in defense of the practice of reciting the angels of mercy prayer. The practice that many objected to because the prayer is directed not at God but at the angels. 101. The mission teaches from whence it derived that Achan's confession and chief atonement for him. The sages taught likewise in a Braita. From whence it derived that Achan's confession and chief atonement for him. And Joshua said, "Why have you brought trouble on us? The Lord shall trouble you this day." Joshua 7:25. Joshua said to Achan, "On this day of your judgment you are troubled, but you will not be troubled in the world to come." And elsewhere it is written, "And the sons of Zerah were Zimri and Ethan and Heman and Kalkol and Dara, 5 of them in all." 1 Chronicles 2:6. What do the words 5 of them in all serve to teach? All 5 sons are destined to receive a share in the world to come. What does say Zimri is Achan, son of Zerah, as will be explained. Since Achan has a share in the world to come, his confession must have achieved atonement for him. In one place, among the 5 sons of Zerah, it is written Zimri, without any mention of Achan, 1 Chronicles 2:6, and in another place it is written Joshua took Achan, son of Zerah, which was 7:24. Rav and Shmuel both say that Zimri and Achan are one and the same. They disagree about his real name. One of them says his real name was Achan. Why then was he called Zimri? He was called Zimri because he acted like Zimri. Just as Zimri engaged in sexual intercourse with a Midianite woman, Achan engaged in intercourse with a betrothed young woman. And another one says his real name was Zimri. Why was he then called Achan? He was called Achan because he acted like a snake. So Ekan, like a snake. The root ayin kaf nun appears to stem from the Greek ichis, meaning viper, and refers to the way a snake ordinarily coils itself. Some suggest relating to the Greek hinos, meaning porcupine, or an item covered with spines, and causes the punishment of the sins of the Jewish people. The Mishnah teaches that if the condemned man does not know how to confess, they say to him, "Simply say, let my death be an atonement for all my sins." Rabbi Yehuda says, if he knows that he was wrongly convicted, he should say, "Let my death be an atonement for my sin except for this sin." The sages counter that if such confession is acceptable, anyone who is sent to execution would state it to clear himself in the eyes of the public. The Gemara challenges, let them clear themselves. Why should the court intervene if the condemned wishes to proclaim his innocence? The Gemara answers, they intervene so as not to cast aspersions on the court and on the witnesses who testified against him. The sages taught an incident occurred involving a person who had been taken out to be executed after having been convicted by the court. He said, "If I committed this sin for which I am being executed, let my death not be an atonement for my sins. But if I did not commit this sin for which I am being put to death, let my death be an atonement for all my sins." And the court that convicted me and all the people of Israel are clear of responsibility, but the witnesses who testified falsely against me will never be forgiven. And when the sages heard it, they said, "It's impossible to bring him back to court and reconsider the verdict as the decree has already been decreed." Kavain shehigid shuv eino chose umagid. A witness who has testified before the court cannot retract this testimony and say that he lied, even if he provides a convincing explanation as to why he lied. But I'm going to say for sure, rather he should be executed, and the chain of responsibility for his wrongful execution hangs around the neck of the witnesses. The Gemara asks, isn't it obvious that he should be executed? It is in his power to have his sentence overturned because he says he is innocent. The Gemara answers, no, it is necessary to state that the condemned man is executed even when the witnesses retracted their testimony. The Gemara asks, even if the witnesses retracted their testimony, what of it? It is still clear that the condemned man is to be executed, as halacha is that once a witness has stated his testimony, he may not state a revision. Oh, I read you the footnote before. As the creed has already been decreed, Shechva Negzar Gazera, Rashi explains this to mean that the Sanhedrin already gave its verdict. Others explain that it means that God has already issued his decree and that a witness cannot attack his testimony even if he can prove that he lied. I'm struggling with that a little bit because how is that justice? But let's continue on that testimony. In other words, a witness's retraction of his testimony has no validity. The Gemara answers, no, it's necessary to state the condemned identity even when a witness retracted his testimony and gave an explanation for every lie in their initial statement. This is like an incident involving Baya the tax collector. Hahu Maaseh Devaya Aya Mirsa. Rashi describes the incident like the funeral of Baya Aya, who was a wicked tax collector, took place at the same time as the funeral of an especially pious rabbi. Due to the circumstances, the coffins were exchanged. Baya was buried with great honor, whereas the pious rabbi was left to rest in shame. The rabbi appeared to one of his disciples in a dream and explained what had happened, and he then added that Rabbi Shimon ben Shatta will be severely punished for tolerating 80 women guilty of practicing sorcery. Then this Rabbi Shimon had the women executed. Seeking revenge, the relatives of these women testified falsely against the son of Rabbi Shimon ben Shatta that he was guilty of a capital offense and he was sentenced to death. As he had been led out to execution, the witnesses admitted that they had lied, but the total testimony was not accepted. This story is accounted in the Jewish Talmud with slight variations, where it was discovered that witnesses had falsely accused the son of Rabbi Shimon ben Shatta in revenge, however, for the sons having sentenced to death for sorcery of witnesses' relatives. The Mishnah. When the condemned man is a distance of 4 cubits, Omar, this term refers to several different lengths. This measure is based on the distance between the elbow to the middle finger, which is called an amma in Hebrew. A common cubit is 6 handbreadths long, equal to 48 centimeters according to one opinion and 57.6 according to another. The Talmud also mentioned a short cubit, which is 5 handbreadths long. 4 cubits measure 1.2, 1.92 and 2.3 meters. The other cubits of different lengths were used for measuring in the temple. The place is generally they would take off his clothes. They cover a man's genitals in the front, and a woman is covered both in the front and in the back. And this is the same Rabbi Huda. But the rabbis say a man is still naked, wearing that cloth covering, but a woman is not still naked, but is stoned while clothed. A man is still naked, but a woman is not still naked, according to the opinion of the rabbis. A man's genitals are however covered from the front, as the rabbis agree with Rabbi Huda with regard to this issue. In case of Mishnah, a woman is stoned wearing only a single layer of clothing in order to minimize the suffering as much as possible. I'm the Sefer Shoftim, because Sanhedrin 15:1, and the Lechem Mishnah there. And it's still more clothed. And that's the end of Daf 44. I hope it was clear, and I hope you benefited from it. And I wish you a good Shabbat and a Chodesh Tov, and all the best. Bye.